It's Nicole Russin-McFarland, your hostess, the mostest. And I'm going to tell you about film directing criticism, bad reviews, and online haters. I have notes. And you know that means this is probably going to be a very VIP episode. Learn why your film has a bad user review or social media response. Trace back who that person is if you have free time. It takes less than a minute. Look up the screen name on search engines and the information always pulls up. The person creating an account solely to review your film is probably a troll. Find out if that person has reviewed other works. The person is foolishly watching a type of film that would have never appealed to him or her in the first place. The person is comparing your low to no budget film to blockbuster movies or famous Oscar films. The person is not only foolish, he or she is an actual fool and really stupid. And I'm not just saying that to be mean, although I kind of am. It's true. Be mean with me. Come on, you filmmakers out there. The person is an activist, likely a paid activist, and bothering you over some agenda. Or he or she doesn't understand your film never did something. Or you never said when he said block that person online. You don't know how many people have told me about that point. Lots of people who are actors or behind the camera get harassed on social media by either activists or people others are convinced are paid to be bothering people. It's very strange. And sometimes by rivals in the industry having fake accounts. It's so stupid, but you deal with it. The greatest film directors have their haters. So you can, at home or at work listening to this podcast, ignore the haters, no matter how prominent, highbrow, or lowbrow they are. So guys and girls, I'm going to tell you this very important point. Stanley Kubrick's 2001 earned negative reviews from critics upon its initial release. Did he conform to please them on his next films? Absolutely not. Some people and critics disliked his later films. Who had the last laugh when all of his films became classics? And I have 3 different directors on here. Maybe you've heard of them. Steven Spielberg was not taken seriously until he was older. Find his old video interview online from the 1980s where he says if he directed other people's Oscar films, they would have not won or been nominated. He fought to be taken seriously by proving there was always an audience for his ideas, just as in Gladiator, win the crowd and you shall win your freedom. My favorite movie, so I'm always going to quote it. Yeah, I'm Maximus, hate me. I always feel like I'm Maximus in life. Maybe you do too. You should live to get revenge. And my catchphrase that I always tell people when I'm acting like in my head I'm Maximus is, I don't wait until the next life to have my vengeance. Sounds so dramatic. And I mean it too. Christopher Nolan has an interview with the Hollywood Reporter in which the journalist, to his face, in a question and answer interview, accuses him of having cold, emotionless films. Mr. Nolan is an expert at throwing subtle shade politely and responded that his films are only cold to people who bring that emotion to his movies because some of his films, like Interstellar, make audience members cry. And when I wrote that, I was secretly thinking, like, you know, Chris Nolan could have a career in rap. And he's so good at the subtle shade. Amazing. I wouldn't have been so nice. I would have been like, what are you talking about? That's so mean. And just, I would have gone either that direction or been like, and then the whole thing would be bleeped. I don't know. Honestly, I probably, knowing myself, I would have gone the first one, like, it's so mean. And I would be like, why do you know? And then pretty soon go cry in the bathroom. I mean, well, I probably wouldn't cry, but you know what I mean. It would hurt. I'd be like, why do you say that? And I just wouldn't be able to hide my emotion. But maybe he has more he has more attitude to himself, and he's just so polished and gentlemanlike when he throws shade. Okay. And then let's wrap this up. Do your films please you? Maybe they weren't A-list films because you didn't have the budget and opportunities back then, but your movies should always make you proud. Think about times when you did things to make others happy and you were not happy. It feels depressing as can be, and as if you missed out on life. If your films please you, they will please someone else. And finally, studios and your fellow film directors will admire your passion against the haters. So there are always going to be people who legitimately don't like a movie. That's a fact. But more importantly, much of the time they're haters, and they're people who think you wanted to go out with so-and-so's second wife. And the guy's like, oh, I'm on my 19th wife, but that jerk, he has a movie opening this week. I'm going to write a mean comment back about 65 years ago when I mistakenly thought that he wanted to date my ex-wife I didn't care about and don't care about today. You know, like there's always some guy like that. Jay and Silent Bob, when they struck back, resolved it by going to people's houses and threatening to beat them up and then beating them up when they wrote mean stuff online. But in the real world, we can't always do that. Oh, that's not true. You can. It's not true. Well, you can do it, but it's illegal and wrong and highly immoral. But be my guest. Spend a weekend in jail. You know, I mean, oh, there's this guy. Okay, I'm friends with a guy, and I hope he doesn't mind. He's not gonna know. Well, he knows who he is if he's listening to this. But I told him about his movie. There were all these. This is a joke. Yes, there were all these people I read about in Canada stealing ambulances. So I told this guy when his film was going to hit iTunes, I said, like, you know what you could do to promote your movie? You need to put, first you need to steal an ambulance from the hospital, make sure nobody's in it so you don't harm the sick people. And then you need to tape up movie posters of your movie and say dropping on iTunes this date. And then you go on a high speech chase down the highway, and then you're going to promote your movie everywhere before you go to jail for the weekend. And he was just like, he thought it was funny. Thank goodness. It's an understanding friend who knows what a goofball I am. But so don't do that. Do not literally beat up the people because that's bad and not cool. But just remember what I always tell people is the quality or lack thereof of the people making fun of you. Like it's typically, not always, but typically a girl on girl thing, or at least a girl towards other guys. But not exclusively all the time, but much of the time I'm dealing with, you know, like women who thought I wanted their boyfriends or husbands, and a few men who thought I wanted their boyfriends and husbands. It's like, no, I don't. I never did. And anytime I've ever met your significant others, okay, let's just be honest with you losers. I may have had some eye problems in the past and present at a few times with fluctuating sugar levels, but I've never been blind enough to find your significant others attractive. I'm going to throw the shade. Okay, and it's like, I know who I like and I know who I don't like, and I never liked them. And I'm constantly, it feels like ever since junior high, dealing with this junk. Like, that girl, she wants to go out with my boyfriend at homecoming. No, I don't. And those are the people who hold grudges against you. They don't have to be famous, okay? They can be anybody. And they hold grudges against you forever and ever and ever. And in their heads, they think that when you were 13, you wanted to go out with so-and-so. Let's write a mean comment about his or her movie. And I've actually talked with people. You say it's funny, but, you know, I've talked with people, and I've been with people who are new and established, and we all look on our reviews, and some people are like, I know who this is. This is that. And then there was a guy who told me, like I said, this is, and then he would say, like, this is that girl I went to high school with, and she got mad at me, and I know her, and she's writing a review about my movie, and she's saying it sucks. And, you know, this is that guy, and this is the guy who was disgusting towards me, and I didn't find him attractive, and he was creepy, and now he's writing mean stuff about me. So those are real. And I just want you to know, if there's a bad review on your movie, sometimes it's a relative of those people. Like I said, the guy with a girl in high school writing a mean, or an ex-girlfriend or whatever. People are stupid. I wouldn't do it. I would never take time out of my day to be like, you know, here's so-and-so's movie and his movie sucks, because they have a falling out. But there are many people who do. And I wouldn't say they're jealous, but they're a little bit bitter. and they hold it forever and ever. And you know, there might be a few people who are jealous and they're aging badly and, you know, you look hot. And hey, being honest, it's not my fault you had 27 children. Okay. Shade thrown, girl and girl here. And I'm going to be like, you know, I don't have kids. You have 2,700. It's not my fault. That's actually really mean. But I'm in the context of this, please only be mean. Like, it's not good being mean. Only be mean if someone else is mean first. So anyway, that's a fictional setup, by the way. Me pretending like I'm another girl filmmaker, female filmmaker. Not literally me, so please note that. But say that I'm this fictional, pretty girl, hot, sexy filmmaker who looks really good, and she's like a young Cameron Diaz, and she's directing stuff, and people like her movies, whatever, you know, like rom-coms or whatever. And this is totally fictional. And there's this high school girl or a girl she met in her 20s or whatever, and she's jealous of her. I mean, that could be likely. So there's so many reasons people hate you. And sometimes they just don't like you. They're drunk on Twitter, and they're just like, I don't like him. Happens all the time. Believe it or not, men get tons of hate mail too, so it's not exclusive to ladies. I don't know how to wrap this up because this is an hour-long discussion and the heads of haters. But just, you know, stay strong. Believe in yourself. And if worst comes to worst, throw subtle hip-hop worthy shade like Christopher Nolan because he's so good at it, and I think we should all strive to be like that part of him. He's such a gentleman, and he's so good at knowing how to brand himself and putting people down when they're mean without being mean. So be like him. Be Christopher Nolan. Talk to you guys on another episode.